Forsaken has never been a stranger to bad balancing moments, whether it was the Sixer and Veronica update being a balancing mess, the two-time rework causing a balancing disaster so bad they're still trying to fix it, or Cool Kid's old 7-frame walk-speed override wind-up that was undodgeable when up close. However, today we'll be talking about what I consider to be Forsaken's worst balancing era ever, the Noli update. With so many things going wrong in this update, we'll be going into why this update was so miserable to experience balance-wise, and why I believe it was the worst period of Forsaken balancing ever. Without wasting any more time, let's get right into the video. So, my first reason why the Noli update was hell on earth to play was because of how the hitboxes worked back then. During the era of Forsaken, before they reworked the hitboxes, they were just really annoying to play with. Deaths as Survivor felt like BS, and for Killer, well, this image basically summarizes how it felt, even on low ping. But it wasn't just how the hitboxes worked in a direct chase, but how they interacted with walls, specifically in this update. I don't know what the devs broke when they released Noli, but after this update, hits through walls became a lot easier and more of a problem than before, with Noli specifically being able to hit survivors through huge objects with ease. And this didn't apply exclusively to killers either. All survivors who could generate attacking hitboxes could now hit through most walls, with the biggest offender of this being Chance. Chance after this update basically became one of the strongest sentinels, being able to stun the killer at almost any time from anywhere on the map through walls, assuming you're close enough for your hitbox to reach the killer. Shedletsky could stun through certain walls too, like this one here on glass houses. Guess could do it too. And Two-Time could even dash stab through walls and sometimes straight up just normal stab through walls to get the most BS backstabs I've ever seen in this Forsaken game. I mean, just look at this. What the hell is that? What are you even supposed to do? Start juking the walls? And for those of you who say this isn't a balancing decision by the devs, it was just a bug. This problem was in the game for over a month and a half, and at that point it felt like a feature considering they were barely punishing players for doing this. While it was a bug, it was almost left in as a feature until the community complained enough. This is just my first reason of many explaining why this update was absolute hell in terms of balancing, so stick around as the slander is just gonna get worse from here. My second reason why the Noli update was a balancing disaster was because of the man himself, Noli. I'm gonna cut straight to the point for this one. He was a terrible killer on release. With a god-awful M1 with a short range, low damage, and a wind-up of 0.4 seconds, on top of the bad hitboxes back then, his M1 was simply way too weak and very difficult to get value out of. This when combined with his Void Star disappearing when M1ing also made it way too easy to farm blocks off of. This made no sense back then as his Void Rush could be blocked too, making Guest completely counter two of Noli's abilities. Even when Noli wasn't up against multiple guests, which was pretty rare then, he was still a mediocre killer as his moves were too underpowered. As Nova was a bit slower with a worse hitbox, and Void Rush was too easy to counter back then as it lacked all the buffs it received over time, like his turn speed going up and damage stacking for every Void Rush hit. At least Void Rush was easy to dodge until hitting through walls were discovered, which made Noli go from a mediocre killer to a mediocre killer with one move that's unfair. So overall, Noli was just underwhelming, and not properly balanced on release, and it would take months until he was in a better position balancing-wise. But even to this day, Noli is still considered to be a lower-tier killer, as he is not the best at countering loops. My third reason why this update was miserable to play was because of 1x4. Let me explain. So, before the Noli update came out, 1x was already a really strong killer, with his mass infection at the time being the fastest it had ever been, and him still having the dreadful old glitched effect. Let me explain why this version of glitched was too oppressive and unfair. It blocked your entire screen with this annoying effect, and had damage stacking for every level of glitched applied on the survivor, with his main two moves being able to apply glitched every second. This means his M1s could deal up to 40 damage, which was insanely unfair and unfun to go against. And to make it even worse, despite him supposedly being the slowest killer in the game, he could kill minions for up to speed 3. As you can tell, he was already an extremely strong killer before this update, and while they thankfully nerfed his speed cap down to speed 1, which is still strong, for some unknown reason, they thought it was a good idea to hyperbuff the rest of his kit. They removed a lot of the end lag that was making 1x still somewhat counterable, and turned them into an unstoppable powerhouse that destroyed almost every lobby with ease. The meta of the game basically just became picking 1x over and over and over again, which made the game feel even more stale than it already did. And since this update just added Hacklord Shedletsky and locked him behind a huge achievement grind, a lot more people were playing 1x instead of Noli at the update's launch, and I would genuinely see more 1x's than Nolis for the majority of this time period. Game after game after game, I would be quick-dropped by 1Xs in a matter of seconds because I got unlucky with one prediction. This was made even worse by the janky hitboxes, as you could sometimes dodge mass infection or entanglement on your screen, but still be hit by it. 1X was just one of the major issues plaguing the game's balancing at this time, and made the game hell to play as Survivor. If you saw 1X was the killer, you knew it was going to be torture. My fourth reason why this update's balancing state was worse than torture to play was because of 2-time. 2-time during this update was arguably the most BS they'd ever been, being ultra miserable to play against. There were so many stupid issues with them during this that talking about all of them one by one would take up over half the video, so I'll just quickfire every issue with them. 1. Ass stabs were a bigger problem back then. 2. They could stab through a lot of walls, even big ones. 3. They could jump over John Doe spikes. 4. Trick stabs were at their worst because of the jank hitboxes, with barely any counterplay. 5. They still had an unreactable wind-up. 6. They were unnerfed, and could basically get a free 20 health every 30 seconds when played right. 7. Once Oblation is full, they can apply infinite pressure with no downside. 8. They were the strongest sentinel in the game, meaning you'd go against them over and over again, making the meta even more stale. There's most likely more reasons I didn't list, but you get my point. 2-time was a pain in the back to play against, as their stun was basically free when close enough to the killer if you knew how to trick stab, which wasn't that hard to do. Everything about this character was unfair then, whether it was their unreactable stun, BS hitboxes, or their infinite pressure they could apply. 2-time was a force to be reckoned with, and this just further added on to the already torturous balancing this game had back then. The Noli update was absolute hell to play balance-wise. Whether you were killer getting stunned through walls, getting ass stabbed by 2-times, your attacks not hitting, or the meta just being a single character. Or as Survivor, where if the killer was 1X you were basically dead, killers could hit you through walls and hitboxes feeling horrid to play both with and against. When all of these problems were mixed together, it caused the game's balance to completely fall apart, and created a game that felt unfun to play for both sides, one that was totally unbalanced, especially for killers. So many bugs were unaddressed, and everything was falling apart. As Meatkill put it, the survivors were basically the X-Men, being unstoppable and able to do anything as they were all unnerfed and overtuned, looking at you 2-time. There were so many bugs and techs that survivors could abuse. Everything was going wrong, and it made the game hell to play for killer. And even if you played 1X, you could still feel this issue. The game at that point lacked all the balancing needed to make the game less survivor-sided, and it was the peak of Forsaken's survivor-sided problem. While Forsaken has learned from this update's mistakes, as seen in the Azure update, it was fun to look back at what I consider to be one of the worst eras for Forsaken balance-wise. If Forsaken stayed in this balancing state to this day, I'm not sure if I would even be making this video, as I would have most likely quit by now. But the update itself was still very fun, and I'm just happy the game has moved on from its issues and has continued to cook better updates. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed my video and want to see more, and if you didn't, tell me why below. This video is a newer style of video I'm experimenting with, making retrospective style videos of past updates that nobody really cares about anymore, so I'm not sure if this video will do great, but oh well. And I would also like to say, this video was heavily inspired by and uses multiple clips from multiple of Meatkill's videos about balancing takes during this era, so huge credits to them. But anyways, if you did enjoy it, tell me the things I did right, and even the things I did wrong. I always appreciate some criticism, as it helps me make my next video even better than the last. Just don't hurl insults at me like some people. Thank you for watching until the end of my video, and I'll see you next time.